Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm your host, Michiel Sujit Rijt. And this podcast is all about amplifying people empowerment. We all want to make a difference, not just in our lives, but in the lives of others. Yet challenges often hold us back. So how do we turn adversity into growth? Journeys of Empowerment brings you real stories and insights from role models who faced struggles, embraced transformation and created impact. Because empowerment isn't a solo journey, it's a ripple effect. Empowerment starts with the choice. Your choice to listen, learn and take action. Tune in and start amplifying your impact. And before we dive in, a quick shout out to our sponsor Neotopia, helping leaders turn behavior change into lasting impact. If you're leading a team, you know how tough it can be to get people on board with change. Resistance, disengagement, old habits, sounds familiar? The truth is, change shouldn't be left to chance. That's why Neotopia has developed a proven methodology to help leaders create real lasting impact. It all starts with the awareness session, a powerful workshop where you discover why behavior change fails and how to fix it. A structured approach to make change stick and how to lead teams who take ownership, not just follow orders. When change is done right, it saves time, energy and frustration and helps build a thriving work culture. Curious? Join the awareness session and experience it for yourself with neotopia.nl to sign up today. Today I'm joined by Samar Morshedi, a leader who knows firsthand how resilience fuels bold futures. From co-founding a startup that developed burnout prevention and prediction software to leading recruitment at Bunq, Samar has turned challenges into stepping stones for growth. Our conversation dives into learning from startup failures, leveraging feedback for success, and how cultural roots shape resilience. Samar's journey is a powerful testament to navigating setbacks with purpose and turning them into leadership that empowers others. If you're looking for insights on how to transform adversity, build strong networks and lead with impact, this episode is for you. I can't wait for you to hear this one. Let's get started.
Yes.
All right, then we are recording right now. So
Yay.
Hi Samar, welcome
Hello.
to Journeys of Empowerment.
Thank you.
And boy, oh boy, I was really looking forward to this conversation. And we started already. You were helping me out when I started with Journeys of Empowerment and with the test recordings.
Yeah, we did.
And then you were surprised about yourself and about the openness and about the conversation. And we were like, why don't we broadcast this right away, right?
No, that's true. But I think it's also your power or the art. I don't know how to explain it, but it's your magic that you make it so easy to open up, to talk, to feel safe. And I think that's really a skill that you naturally have. And I think that was also one of the reasons this so much makes sense for you to do something like this. And also, worked for me as well in our first trial.
Okay, now great. Thank you very much. And it made me a little bit blushing, I think. Hopefully you can't see it.
Yeah, blushing.
Hey, shall we begin? Let's start with how we met I'm always telling it the wrong way. The
Holland Startup, yes.
At Holland Startup at Friday Fuck Up Night.
Yeah, SaaS Fuck Ups, yeah.
SaaS Fuck Up, you blew me away because we were sitting there in front of, 70, 80 people invited. And you can, of course, tell a bit more about it. But what really struck me was that your openness and your vulnerability just 1.5 weeks later, after forced to close down your startup, your beloved startup, and sitting there in front of those 70, 80 people and being so open, and I was like, this is right away, this is a superpower of you. So, But what, maybe I'm going too fast, maybe you can set the scene. What was it all about?
Yeah. Yeah, it was event or like a panel discussion around how we can learn from other SaaS fuck-ups, because Holland Startup was about, it was a startup accelerator helping first-time entrepreneurs who wanted to create their own SaaS companies. And yeah, as you said, when that panel was happening 1 week and a half before I decided to step down as a co-founder, and then a while later we also decided to close down the company. And I think there was only one thing that not forced me, but convinced me that I should be there in that panel, is that I was already working on that startup idea for almost 2 years. And I was like, okay, 2 years ago, I would love to sit somewhere that somebody tell me about the mistakes, the failures, lesson learned, that I can use, because I don't want to make those mistakes. I'm going to make my own mistakes, but of course I want to learn from others, right? So I was okay. That's my mission, to do that and give that insight to the others who are doing it for the first time. They're sitting here, they have all these dreams and missions, and and that is the scene.
Yeah, that is the scene, and. What was the startup all about?
Yes, Wellaby. So Wellaby was a little small child startup who all started during COVID pandemic.
Yes.
With the idea that, okay, this is happening. Workplace is changing a lot. People are working from home. So the human connections are almost gone. In-person interactions are almost gone. And more people were actually feeling overwhelmed, and also sometimes, unfortunately, feel burnout. And it started with the idea, okay, how we can use technology to, first of all, predict if something is like that is going to happen, or people are not feeling okay at work, and how we can help team leaders or HR teams in the companies to help those people so not to get to that really worst case, and prevent it when it is at the earliest stage. So that was the whole idea. Mm-hmm. We had this software that we could collect some data from employees, and also show these trends regarding what matters for people, because what you are looking for at a company or at your job is different person to person. So what you find important, and if things based on what you find important is not going well according your wish or according how you would like it to be, you could get some notifications or some help and support through the app, but also, or some tips and tricks on how to handle that as an individual, but also the team leader of that person or the HR would also getting some insights, some tips and tricks and knowledge that they can, like a library of knowledge that they could go and read and help, then have those conversations with the individuals, with the employees, to help them get out of that situation, or first of all, recognize it, okay, what's going on, have the conversation, and how to handle those conversations. So that was all about. And we had some great early adopters. One of them was actually HelloFresh, and I remember one of the team leaders who was leading at the beginning the project with us, with Wellaby. Once he told me that actually I had a team member that through in Wellaby dashboard, we found out, okay, maybe things are not going well, and even himself was not recognizing it because it was very subtle. And then it really helped them to have that conversation around it, and they used some of the materials that we provided. So it's just one of the few examples that it was very fulfilling for us to see that, okay, we are actually creating an impact here. But down the road, couple of stuff or very, very normal startup struggles. At the end, I first decided not to continue anymore. And then after a while, we also just decided to close the company. But there is absolutely zero regret on that. I learned a lot. Of course, it's sad that we couldn't continue, because I still do believe that is a great idea and product. And actually, we need it even more now. But yeah, I learned a lot, and I really wanted to share that with that group of ambitious first-time entrepreneurs.
To be honest, I'm trying to, because it's now 2 years ago, more than 2 years, 2 years?
It's more than 2 years.
More than 2 years ago, and I have to be honest, what was one of the biggest fuck-ups you mentioned then? Do you remember? Can you recall what it was?
I think one of them that it's maybe when I say it, you also might notice that it's quite a cliche, but we overlook it. So I said that listen to your clients more and before building anything. Although we actually talk to more than 300 professionals before starting building anything during the discovery and brainstorming phase. But when we started building, we really, I think we thought that we have it all. And I think we stopped that. That was one of the learnings that I shared, that just never stop listening to your clients and what they need. And because their needs might change, might shift. Actually, it can also very shift and change quickly. So, again, it might sound cliche, so you should always listen to your user.
It's cliche for a reason, right? And, to narrow it down, something like continuous feedback loops.
Yeah.
While building and the plane along the way. Okay. They are cliches for a reason. So it's always good to mention, because we all think, now we know it all, and then we start. And
exactly.
So it's always good to be remembered. Yeah. And and when you talk about do you had a team, or did you have a co-founder? What was it?
Yeah, so that was also one of the other value propositions of Holland Startup, was helping individuals to find their business partners or co-founders through a program. So I participated in a hackathon. So as an individual, you could participate in a hackathon. And then there was also moments like a pairing or matching based on personality, based on what are you looking for. And eventually I paired off with my ex co-founder that he was already cooking up some ideas around Wellebe when I joined. And then we start to do more of those discovery talks and calls together. And then down the road, we hired, at the beginning, actually, he started building the app himself on a no-code platform. So we were like, okay, at the beginning, we don't want to invest so much on tech. Let's validate first. Let's build the MVP. And for MVP, the no-code platform was more than enough for us. So he started actually building it himself. And then we hired another no-code developer. So eventually we were a team of, at some points, 4, and at the end 5, because we also needed, of course, we needed to look into the science behind this. So we actually have people from organizational psychology background to help us to make sure that we are actually on track when it comes to the science part.
Yeah, of course. And how logical was the choice for you to become an entrepreneur, to enter the entrepreneurship?
Logical choice?
Yeah.
So I don't know how logical. So I think my choice about it was not like that. I want to become an entrepreneur. It really didn't start like that. It was me at the end of my MBA, 11 months or 9 months in the country, in the Netherlands. That I moved from Iran, and I was like, okay, I think I want to do something new. I want to try building something.
You think you want to do something new? You just entered a country from a total different background in a total different continent, and then you think, let's do on top of that something else after my MBA, which I never did. Okay, that sounds logical.
Yeah.
That's what
because you asked about logic, so that's a logic, right? Completely logical. Yeah. You don't know the language, you don't know the rules, you don't know the regulations, you don't know anything about how does it mean to register a company, and about the tax and everything.
And just start a new company, right? Okay. Yeah.
But actually, it's. I think it started in a conversation that I had one of my professors at the university, and I was just having a chat with her that I told her, I think I want to try something like that, but it sounds too risky, or, I'm just new in the country. What should I do? What do you think? And she said something interesting. She said, you're in a new country. She asked me, do you have kids? I was like, no. She was like, okay, you don't have mortgage. Everything is like a fresh start, or like a clean slate. And there are a couple of startup accelerators in the Netherlands. So you don't have any financial obligations or anything. Maybe just try it. And she just said it like as casual as that, and it was like, that's interesting. And then there was a couple of events, so we participated, and I found out about Holland Startup eventually. But it all started with that conversation, and of course some thoughts in my head that, okay, I want to try it. Maybe I just needed a final push. I don't know. But that was actually the final push for me to, okay, that's a path I want to at least give it a try. And I should say that knowing an organization like Holland Startup really helped, because they help us to actually, there are so many unknowns around building a business, of course, in any country. So they actually help us to, okay, we are going to take care of some parts that are the difficult parts, and then you can really focus on building and ideating and that side of the business.
Validating.
Yeah, exactly, validating. There was actually something else, and I don't know if I mentioned in our trial or not, trial version, about why I made that decision is that to me, starting your business or being an entrepreneur, it was always something, I don't know exactly why, but like unachievable, or is not for everyone, or it's not for you, or it's not for normal people, or you just need to be very special if you can do that. And I didn't like it. And I was like, okay, I want to change that. Doesn't matter if I'm going to get successful or not, but I want to change that. I don't want to make, let that impact me. And I think that, okay, that's not for me. So maybe it also has something to do with me being quite a rebel.
That was the first word that popped up, and I was like, Michiel, don't say the word. Don't say the word. Let it come out naturally.
That's fine.
Don't say the word.
That's fine.
You a rebel? No. Yeah? Oh, you are a rebel. Rebel with a cause.
Yes.
Rebel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the cause is interesting, but that's for later. But a rebel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to also have make it possible for others to look and say that, okay, she looks like us. If she did it, maybe also we can do that. Why it should be something really unachievable, or something really far, or something for people who we think we cannot be them. So I think something like that.
It's a beautiful view.
Yeah.
But let's unpack that a little.
If I once at TIAS, business school that I studied, they asked me, while I was still working in Wellaby, they asked me to give a little talk for the students who chose the entrepreneurship path. And I did a lot of quoting from a book by Nassim Taleb, which is called... that is interesting that I forgot the name.
We will put it afterwards in the show notes.
Yeah,
it's about the context for now.
Yeah, and it's there was a story. It tells a lot about the fact that, like, there is this I think mythical story about the snake Hydra, that when you cut the head, it grows not one, instead two, and then when you cut two, it grows four heads. And I really like that as why I decided to do something like this, or why anybody should start doing things that are crazy and difficult, because it makes you powerful, and then it makes you resilient towards even more difficulties, and the bigger the hits, you become stronger, and the next time you become even more stronger. And that's what happens in entrepreneurship. They just they throw so many balls at you, and you need to either catch it, or you're gonna get hit, and the next time another one, and then you grow, you learn, and then you become better, you become stronger. So yeah.
All right, and I totally agree. And now it makes me curious, because I think I've read the book also, but I can't recall the name. So that's interesting. But I rather prefer to forget the title and understand the context and recognize the context because I read it. And
and part of it is saying that if more and more people start, for example, taking entrepreneurship or start building businesses, which is a very difficult thing to do, the more and more you have people around in the society that are better at dealing with adversities, they are better at taking setbacks and see, okay, how they can deal with difficult situations. It's just generally better for the society if you have more and more people like this.
I agree fully. And hey, but let's unpack the rebellious in you, because what makes me curious is, where did the thought or the assumption or your worldview came from that you think that fueled the rebellious side, okay, but I want to prove them wrong. Where does that assumption comes from that? Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. I think the fuel, it's not only about I want to prove them. Part of it's maybe I want to prove them wrong, and it's I'm coming from a Eastern family. I was born and raised in Iran with Iranian parents, and maybe stereotypically we are famous quite for having very strict parents, giving the children hard love, tough love. And that was also the same for me. I have a father that I love him. I'm very proud of him. He's also very proud of me. Now we are in a very good relationship, but he was always very hard on us, and he was always expecting more. And a couple of years ago, I had a very heart-to-heart conversation with him that, okay, yes, now that I'm an adult, it makes sense. You wanted us to learn, to grow, and be the best version of ourselves, but wasn't it just too harsh? And he was like, no, see what happens. You are now amazing. So I think that it would have been a loss that if you would not open or unlock this potential. So at the end, we decided to agree to disagree.
to agree to disagree. Okay, so there was a certain amount of disagree.
Yeah, because I think you can push people and then, or your children. I don't have kids myself. You can push them and then help them to unlock the potential, but it doesn't need to unnecessarily be in a way that at the end you end up as that kid in the way that, okay, I'm not never good enough. I mean, that was the problem that I had with that way of upbringing, that you always constantly feel that or think that I'm not good enough. I always to do more. To be enough. So that was the part that I didn't like it. And it was difficult for him to see that part. So, of course, the other side of it, which is the positive side, that, okay, yes, I am someone
always striving for more.
Exactly.
And wanting the best results.
Put the higher bars for myself. Okay, I'm never satisfied. I'm having the highest expectations from myself. So that part, yes, I like that. But,
and I still know you, and I know you quite well. After 2 years, you still strive for the best. So how do you think it's becoming in a more healthy balance within you? So the healthy striving for more. But is there all? Can you sometimes sit on the couch and say, "Hey, but I'm doing well at the moment, and I'm quite proud of myself, actually, where I'm now sitting in my life." Where are you at it? Because I can imagine it's a process.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny that I think I told you earlier that it's been only just a couple of weeks that actually I can do that, and I can look at myself in the mirror and say that, okay, well done, you came a long way, good job.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, so it was not an easy journey to get here. I think that the healthier part that I am in, or healthier states that I am in right now, still having higher expectations of myself, is that I still want to do more and achieve more, but I'm also quite more familiar with my boundaries, and I know where I should pause, where I should maybe take care of myself more instead of just pushing, because pushing is great, but sometimes you just need to pause. So I think I have more tools and knowledge to know where to pause, where to push more, where to expect more from myself, and sometimes be just very nice and do some sort of parenting for myself. So I think that's it. And to be honest, I should say that is a result of many years of learning, educating myself, going through therapy. I'm still going through therapy sessions every week, which helps me to learn and grow and know so many things more about myself. So I think it's a combination of all of these.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing so openly. And I also regularly visiting a therapist. I think for me, I call it, her name is Marianne, and I call it my accountability conversation. It was once when I was really in a dark place. She's a psychologist, and I was really in a dark place. It was really necessary, and it was really, went through a lot of deep stuff, and but it became slightly more. Yeah, I got out of the dark period, and then, but I thought, Michiel, and a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms. So I had to overcome a lot, but it learned so much about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Having these conversations, and even though I was doing the talking, she was for 95% the listening. I was like, okay, this is easy money.
Yes.
And but the trust that builds up then, and the few questions you got asked, the value that is deep, that is really deep. And was it, but learning, and you are always be learning. When I think about you, it's always be learning mentality.
Yeah.
That's you. But also, did you, because you opened up just 2-3 weeks ago, what helped you? What all of the sudden made you change and say, hey, I can say great stuff about myself? What helped you?
It's not all of a sudden. It's a journey. I think the moment that I could say it out loud was the first moment, but it was a journey that got me there. It was moments of doing a lot of reflections and journaling, and again having those conversations with my psychologist, and reminding myself, writing my story, the long way that I came. So I don't know that the specific moment what exactly happened, but I think it was after one of those journaling sessions, and I just look at what I wrote, a couple of pages about all this stuff that I did, and I was like, okay, so if you're not going to be proud of this, then what are you going to be proud of?
And that's a powerful tool, right? Writing it down.
Yeah.
Writing it down. For 2024, I made a impact reflection kind of document, and with the most important elements in my life. So my love of my life, my children, personal health and well-being, business, finance, and so forth and so on. And then what am I really proud of? And all of a sudden it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
Also in improving the relationship between my daughters and myself, and it was like, wow. But you have to write it. Sometimes you have to write it down, because otherwise it is, it vanish.
Yeah.
You don't remember anymore. You can't recall it anymore. And if you write it down, you make it real.
Yeah, and there's always more to do. There is always more problems to solve. There's always a lot of other stuff or more stuff that we need to do.
Yeah. We heard you before, just before. There's always more.
No, what I wanted to say after that is that you need to be able to also pause and look at the stuff that you achieved. And to be honest, it's not something that you can quantify. For individuals, can be different. The accomplishment is really based on your life story. And I think another thing that I also learned is that not to compare my real story with anyone's else. Because that is my life, that is my journey, and I should be able to compare myself to myself. Again, cliche, we hear it a lot, but doing it is not easy, especially in the age of social media, and people are putting the beautiful version of their lives out there.
The whole business model behind, and the whole algorithms behind the TikToks and the Meta and all it is about comparing and comparison, and there are whole business models behind it, and for a reason. So the cliche again are there for a reason. But I love that you. How does that work? How can we learn not to compare ourselves too much? Because it sounds cliche, it sounds good that you're getting better and better in it. Where to start? How to start not comparing yourself in a world where each and every one of us is comparing. How many likes does she have? Or how many views, or how many followers, or how many cars, or how many, the neighbor is driving this car. I live in a neighborhood, and you can see, hey, there was somewhere a starting point, and you read the number plates, and then you see the number plate from the neighbor is just a little bit newer, but the car is the same. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's interesting.
Well, if you ask that question from my partner, from Jeroen, he's going to be like, get off socials. He doesn't have any social accounts, social media accounts, absolutely zero. He's only on LinkedIn. Really? So that's his answer always. But I can imagine that maybe it's not work for all of us, including myself. I think there is not a magic one, but it's all start with the conversation you have with yourself. At least that's what I'm doing. It's all those journalings and reflections, and then looking back and have those little, be aware of those little voices in your head. That's something I also learned over the years, to be aware of that. It doesn't go away. I cannot force it to go away. It's always there, but I'm just aware of it. And I always have another conversation. Okay, you are there, but I'm not going to let you to impact my life or how I see myself. You can be there. That's fine. But it also comes with practice, to be honest. It's just not something easy. Yeah.
And practice, as in journaling, but I don't know. You are very driven, and then you say, knowing you, very driven, very energetic, and you mentioned the word pause.
How does that work for me?
That was exactly my question, because that I'm like, okay, sounds good, but.
So I think I am very privileged that I have people around me, including yourself, that are holding me accountable to make those pauses. And I think I owe that to those people, or to you people. I have quite a few of them in my life that they help me to, and then when I have conversation with them, they help me to, okay, do you also, hey, Samar, do you also notice it that this is one of the moments that maybe you should also pause? So then that definitely helps me, because you're right. Sometimes it can be difficult for myself to do that. But I think I'm also getting quite better at recognizing moments or certain ways of doing things, or when my thoughts are getting different. So I'm good at catching it, catching myself that, okay, maybe this is a moment that we need to take a break.
So swapping the unaware to aware, to becoming aware.
Getting out of autopilot, and it's okay. So,
then you are aware, and then and then what? Because that's the most difficult part. I train myself also to notice, pause, but then the switching is always challenging, right? For me, it's okay. Notice, pause, reflect, and then.
I think then you need to make some decisions, and they are not always the ones that you really want to make. They are not always the easy ones. Sometimes you make a difficult one. For me, it's also, to be honest, involved in saying sometimes more no's to stuff that, to myself, and sometimes maybe to others, to holding more space for myself. It's sometimes it is saying no to a party, saying no to a gathering, saying no to some social activities that maybe I should reserve that energy for myself, or sometimes it's saying no to picking up a new project, or and sometimes it is making decisions about, okay, who do I want to have at this moment in my life, or how should I manage the relationship with people, the dynamic that I have with people, because maybe part of it's also impacting, and I'm not feeling good about it. So, really not a magic one. I think the whole, I know what you mean, that doing the pause is the difficult one. Okay, what about after that? But I think just being able to make that pause, you are in a healthier and calmer mindset, that then you can do a better evaluation of what's going on around me. So, yeah.
And Jeroen, doesn't have any
No.
social media, and now I have, except for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So it's for me the same.
Yeah.
I'm all my youngest daughter Lila has now her musical career, and of course everything is on Instagram. So now I'm being forced by my youngest one to open an account. And she's like, yeah.
She wants you as an audience.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So, no, but hey, let's go a little bit more into our personal journey. And because you mentioned you grew up in Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iran.
Yeah.
Iran. And, well, let's start there. How the upbringing and Iran... because in interesting, I had Navid also in the conversation, and we had a beautiful also pre-conversation, and so eye-opening, different world, beautiful world perspectives and worldview. So we love to learn about a lot of new perspectives, and but sorry. Upbringing.
Well, we need a few more sessions.
Yeah.
No, well, personally myself, I think I feel quite privileged to born in a family that it was always about, of course, learning and knowledge and cherishing and nourishing the culture that we are coming from. Literature was always something part of my upbringing. My father was always teaching us stories through analogies, and also stories from all the ancient books or poets. So I think that's something I'm always very happy and really proud of. One of the things that I am very proud of is, and I'm happy that I can understand and speak Farsi as a language, because there is so much that you can learn from all the literature that we have, Persian literature that we have. So I'm really happy of that. And then I'm happy that my parents were always also integrating that in their upbringing. So that's something I really like. And it's when you move to a new country, you see that, okay, we have a different world perspective just because of that, because of many other reasons, but because of that, which I think makes it way more beautiful and make it diverse when it comes to, when we are getting together to solve a problem, and now we're getting together to, build a business, and we are bringing different world perspective on the table. So,
yes, that we need, of course.
Yeah.
And when it comes to when it comes to worldview, because that makes me curious. Do you think, and do you believe that worldview is only thought by our parents and by our upbringing, or also there is some in us already when we are born?
Good question.
From our ancestry, and there will be no right or wrong, but it's what do you believe? Because I have a belief I will share afterwards with you, but I'm starting to believe something.
I don't have a strong belief on that part particular, because I think I don't know if there is any science behind it or not about genetics and what we get from our ancestors regarding these kinds of traits. I see it more as a combination, or for me, it starts after us being born. That's how I look at it, and what's happened in the very early days of us being a child, and what's going around us, and how we are being treated. And I think for me, it starts from there. That's how I look at it. But of course, for example, for me, when I was a kid, I was living in a country that the war just ended the year I was born. So I could not comprehend what does it mean. But now that I look back, I have a better understanding. That situation that also a little bit of a combination of scarcity, because the country is just coming out of 8 years of war, and then you appreciate more. You're always learn how to live in the moment or learn how to enjoy very little things. And also you learn how to deal with a lot of struggles and problems and things that maybe in the other part of the world. So sometimes when we share childhood memories with my partner, I say, oh, that's really interesting, the big difference.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and I think at the end, definitely war is not good. Challenges, and especially as a kid, you should not go through difficult things. But that is a challenge that I have right now. That because when you have a challenging upbringing or coming from a challenging and difficult culture, or things are not going well, you become maybe not that maybe that's not always the case, but that was the case for me and many other people that I know, that you become more resilient. And I also see that in the dynamic I have with the people who didn't have those difficulties.
Yes, I agree fully. And
that a problem looks like, oh yeah, sure, we can solve that. Or you look at the same problem and go, oh no, how we're going to deal with this? And this whole problem-solving mindset. Okay, the problem is there, but okay, let's see how we can fix it. So that's how I see the world. Nothing is impossible to solve. Or I'm just like, okay, maybe now we don't know it, but let's see who else can help, or maybe how we can look at it from a different perspective. Or
maybe it reinforced resourcefulness.
Yeah,
and also resilience.
Yeah.
That I believe. Interesting because we had a event from Navid from his startup Shexon, and it's about biculture. It's helping people with a bicultural background, a refugee background, migration background, entering the Dutch labor market, and with all the rules and regulations and so forth and so on. And there were around about, I think, 80 people, and also a lot from directly from the Iranian community. And one of the biggest sort of plus points out of all these challenges is that it enforces and helps us build resilience. And I think that's because if you never have to deal with those kind of things and challenges. So the one of the positive conclusions coming from a different background, that it can help you build more resilience within you.
Yeah. And I think historically as a country also we went through a lot of different kinds of phases and challenges. And if you look at the literature, you can also see the reflection of that. You know, we have this mythology about phoenix that's comes out of that's not necessarily only about Persian literature, but we have a lot of similar stories that you go through a lot of challenges, or you have a lot of obstacles, but you get over them, and after that there is going to be a moment that you're happy and everything's done. But you need to earn it. You need to go through those difficult stages and then earn that. Or after a very hard period, there is going to be also a very good period. So you can always have hope that, okay, if you can manage to get out of this and you can get over this challenge. So yeah, I see that also as part of our, you see a lot of examples also in our culture. So it's sort of like we take also pride in tackling those challenges. Yeah.
Growing up in Iran, how was that for you?
That's not an easy question.
Sorry for that.
Well, generally growing up in Iran as a woman, it's not easy. It's not easy, and it was the same for me as many other Iranian women or girls, especially recently. It's not a very again, easy country to live as a woman, and that was one of the reasons that I also decided to leave. But I think I mentioned the good stuff about it that I really like. But there are many challenging parts as well. So, if you can ask me one more question to give me a little bit more direction that what do you want.
I can imagine. You just mentioned as a girl or as a woman. So there, the assumption is: are there differences then growing up? Do you think between boys and men being there and women?
Yeah, obviously there's a huge difference, and again, we need, I think, few more podcasts.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you don't have the same right in society at all. Also about any sort of form of rights, you don't have that, unfortunately, and you're perceived as second level or maybe even third level citizen.
I struggle with.
Yeah.
Sorry, but to interrupt, but I struggle with that. I find so hard.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's unfortunately difficult to comprehend if you don't know the context.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's unfortunately the case. To just give you an example, we don't need to go through that specific topic, but it's, for example, in Iran, if you get married, by default, you give away your rights to leave the country. You cannot have the passport without your husband's approval. Your husband is going to be the one who make decisions about where they're going to live or what's going to happen to the children. You don't have any rights to, for example, initiate a divorce. If you want to get these rights back, you need to go to a notary, and then your husband is going to give the absolute rights that you should have as a human being, give them back to you. So I can imagine how condescending that situation is. Well, not all the people do that, so that's not happening. So, but that's just one example, right? So unfortunately, from that side, it was not a very good experience. And also, on top of that, that's something not necessarily only for Iran, but there is a lot of shame and guilt when topics like, for example, harassment or sexual harassment or assaults happening. So, and it's all focused on making the victim sorry or ashamed about that and not being able to talk about it. So, and I had my own fair share, not fair, but I had my own share of experiences on that side as well. So those parts are the parts that are difficult, yeah.
Wow, yeah. I'm quiet about it. It's impactful.
You ask for it.
Yeah, I know. And what might have been helpful coping with situations as harassment for you personally? Was there something helpful around you, or?
No, unfortunately, at the time, no. But that's also something that I'm thinking about. Maybe I can work on some. I don't have any concrete ideas about it yet, but I'm brainstorming that maybe we can make. There are great initiatives at the moment happening. Because I think it's all about education. So there was not education; it was always hush hush, no talking about it, zero education, nothing. I think that's one of the problem. You should have tools as an individual, but also there's a lot of missing knowledge, information, education around this topic that unfortunately it's not there. So, yeah.
Well, if you need any help or to think about it in brainstorming.
No, not necessarily for myself, but how we can make some changes.
Yes, please. That's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And how does those experiences impact life today? Does it have impact or not? Or
yeah, I think it does. And necessarily, I don't know how directly or indirectly, or I don't know the exact connection, but definitely everything that we go through in our life impacts the way we do things and make decisions or our worldview and everything. I think one of the biggest impact is that, again, might sound cliche, is that when you see someone, you never know what they've been go through. So just try to be a little bit nicer with them. You never know what is their story. Because what I see is that the more and more I get older and I talk to people, I see that we are all going to work, doing our job, and then doing our responsibilities. But we're all having all sort of stories and struggles. And despite all of them, we are still trying to function and do our best. And sometimes it's just good to acknowledge that, you know, the person you're sitting in front of you, if you need to have a conversation or it's not an easy conversation, that's fine. But also take into consideration they also have a story. They're also.
Yeah, exactly. And that make me think about our test recording we had, and you loved, and it's also in the choice of startup. It reflects also in the choice of startup. It's all about helping. That's where you thrive. I know you. It's about helping people getting the best out of themselves, or helping people. Well, for instance, also for you, it was it an easy jump from Iran to the Netherlands or not? Was it an easy landing and everything was smooth? And
yeah, for me personally, yes. I used to travel a lot before I come here for living here. I used to travel, and I have families that are living here, so I was quite familiar with the culture and everything. The landing part was good, and there wasn't that much a struggle from that side. But of course, it's different when you're traveling than you comparing to when you start living in a country. So there has been some definitely differences or stuff that I had to struggle or learn. But it was an easy landing for me. That part was fine. But the part that maybe I'm talking about the culture aspect.
Yes.
But there are so many things that are difficult. For example, I moved to a new country in my early 30s. So I left all the people that I know, friends, social groups, communities, and there is none of them here. So I have to build them from scratch. Mm-hmm. So that part was something that was not easy for me. And I had, I think I was very lucky to, for example, get to know Female Ventures. And I also had for around 2 years, I was a city coordinator in Utrecht. So the organization is all about helping local, but also international women to get together, to help each other, to share knowledge. If people want to find jobs or find investors. So it's a safe community for people. So for women. So I was really happy and privileged to be able to part of that. And I get to know so many brilliant women that now they're all my best friends through Female Ventures, and I'm really happy about that. So that is the part I always try to, in any form or shape, through the 2 years that I was volunteer at Female Ventures, or even now after that, I try to help people, especially the ones that because at the end you need good people around you. You need community that hold you up. That's something I was very privileged to at the end have when I moved to the country, but also throughout my life, having people that they see the best in you and they can help you to grow, to get to the best version of yourself. So that's sort of my personal mission, to be that person in any form or shape that I can when I come across people who are maybe struggling with that part.
Hey, you mentioned quite a lot of times being privileged. But the way I see it, and I know you, is that the world doesn't meet halfway. It's also that you reach out when you need something, or you want something, or you believe something. It's not that Female Ventures throws themselves in your lap, right?
No.
It's also that you yourself reached out, or maybe in this specific Female Ventures. How did that go? Did they reach out to you, or did you visit an event and you were like, how did it?
It is one of those. I think just lucky. It's luck. I think. Because that's one of the things I believe in life, that so many things happen. We're just because we were at the right time, right place. So one of the co-founders at a time at the Holland Startup, she was a city coordinator in Utrecht, and she wanted to step down, and she was looking for someone. And then we had a chat, and I had conversations with the board members of Female Ventures, and I took over that position. But again, it was just a right time, right place.
Yeah, but
situation.
And you. It's too easy to say it's just almost luck. It's also, I believe, that one of your superpowers is you can cultivate serendipity.
Could be.
Yeah, it could be, because it's not all privilege. It's also hard work, reaching out.
Yeah.
Is that a natural habit for you to easily reach out to somebody if you think you want to ask somebody something, or maybe?
Yeah, I think yes. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I never look at it from that perspective, but actually, yes, that could be true. And maybe that's why I was in commercial roles for a while. But yeah, that's true. And I think that's also something you can learn.
What specifically?
To reach out, to make connections proactively, to make connections. And that's actually something we also try to do throughout some workshops at Female Ventures for the art of networking and how you can do that, because so many things happen in my life just because I had one conversation, or I get to know someone, and then, or I went to a Holland startup happened because I went to just an event. I don't remember what was the event about, but I found out about Holland Startup, or so many things. I get to know so many amazing people just because I was in a networking event and I just there to be part of that conversation, for example, right? So that's also something I really want to also help younger people to be good at, because so many good things can happen.
Yeah, helping is the red thread through your and also the 2.5 years that we know each other. It's all about helping, reaching out. So I think that's one of your. You always strive to help.
Yeah, and I think you asked at the beginning about some fuels. The fuels for this one, maybe it's come from the struggles or my own stories and stuff, but also it's coming from that I was very lucky to have few people in my life that they saw a version of me that I was not that version at the time, but they saw it and then they helped me and they lift me up. And they encourage me, or they give me tools, so each of them in their own different ways, to become that version. And then whatever that is, if I want to, for example, gain a skill, or if I want to achieve something, or if I have a dream that I think I cannot, or if I want to just have a different way of living my life, so I think that is something that I want to also do to others as well. So sometimes you want to go somewhere and you think that I cannot go there because I don't have the knowledge, skills, power, tool. But that's fine. You don't have it now. You can work on a plan and you can get there. I think unlocking people's potential is just breaking these thoughts,
the barriers,
exactly in their heads, and then people just are going to go and do it. If you can break that, and by breaking, just helping them envisioning that you can get there, and that can be a plan. You can get there, or maybe you don't know the plan yet, but you can also work on that.
But where do you meet? Where did? Am I understanding you correctly? You're talking about a sort of role models in your life and on your journey, right? But where do you meet them?
I think for me, all of them happen in all those lucky moments, sometimes being at the right time, right place. It was finding the role models, maybe except Female Ventures, that I actually get to know so many amazing, brilliant women. The rest of them was just like I came across them. But I think what I'm good at is that when I come across someone that I like and I enjoy the company, I don't let it go. So I try to continue the conversation. I try to see if I can have their company more or in different form or shape. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think one element is something... what can be helpful is you never know where or when you can meet somebody who's going to help you before you. But what I believe is that you can put yourself into an environment, enter an event, although it's not in your first habit to do that, or enter a meetup, or enter but put yourself in an environment where chances are high that you are meeting a lot of people and there might be someone who's going to help you out, or just it's not always about helping, but also putting yourself into an environment where you can meet. Well, for instance, one example for me, it became a big eye opener, and Sasha Martina was in my podcast. It is published when this one will be published. So, and Sasha was for me this whole starting point for my journey into the world of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And although I knew I grew up in a predominantly white culture, and especially where I grew up, although I, of course, physically have different genetic markers, I really felt at home and at ease in the environment I grew up. And my whole demeanor is typical Dutch. Until years later, so only 2.5 years ago, I started entering a lot of D&I initiatives and events, and hearing the conversations of a lot of people with bicultural upbringing or migration background or refugee background. And I could relate to a lot of those stories in a very surprising manner. So I became curious, and now I'm proactively entering those kind of events because I feel at home. Because although we're all unique and all different, we have the kind of same struggles, same challenges. And so that's, for me, not business related, but more personal journey related, putting yourself into an environment where chances are high that, you can also learn a lot about yourself having these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I like what you just said. It's not about helping. It's about learning more about yourself, but also getting inspired.
Yes.
And learning from other people's stories. And also, I think you're right. We are very different and very unique, but at the same time, we are struggling with the same things. Maybe they have different representations. And the more we are able to talk about them, the more we are able to help each other. So, yeah, that's definitely art.
That is. And I really believe, yes, we are all unique and one of a kind.
Yeah.
But we don't need to be alone. No. And we're not alone.
No.
And I strongly believe in that we are interconnected with each other if we allow ourselves to be connected to each other, right?
Yeah.
And wow. And okay, then you came to the Netherlands, and now you are working at, because we're going to make a big jump to the moment where we now then you stopped with your startup. You worked for 2 years as what was your role at
head of commercial?
Head of commerce. At Para, and now you are at Bunq.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, that's also one of the crazy journeys that I have in my career.
But in a different role, right?
Yeah, I'm head of recruitment at Bunq,
Head of recruitment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about Bunq is that generally in the recruitment process, there is this idea that it doesn't matter where are you coming from and what is your background. If you have the drive, if you have the passion, or as we always say, if you can get the shit done, you're welcome. So, and that's how I ended up there as a head of recruitment. And I'm enjoying it, that, and I'm surrounded by so many people from so many different backgrounds. Because of that mentality, the company is full of people with all sort of diversities and backgrounds, and that's really great. Yeah,
that's great. And now you're enjoying the steep learning curve, right?
Yes, definitely. Yes, something that I can never have enough of challenges and different and new things to learn. So that's definitely.
Yeah, and you can see that. You can see that. You can see that you are really enjoying that.
Yeah.
Is there one thing one sort of, when listeners think one sort of advice you can give people when they enter the Dutch labor market, where to start? Because it's I can imagine coming from a different country, coming to the Netherlands, trying to figure out how things work, where to begin.
I think it goes back to what we just said about communities, because I think the great things about Netherlands is that there are so many great communities. Some of them are not maybe well known enough, so you need to do a little bit more of a search to find that out. But don't try to figure everything out by yourself. You're not the only one. There have been quite a few people before you. They did it, so you can learn from them. You just need to get out there and find them, go to these networks. I was always very happy when at Female Ventures networking drinks I could see people that are coming and joining these events. So I think that is definitely something that don't try to figure it out all by yourself. Get out there and try to see what's happening, communities in your cities or university or
communities.
Yeah.
All right.
Networkings. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great one, and that make me again think about the community Navitis building
exactly,
with Jackson,
yeah.
and because it was well organized at the Rabobank in Eindhoven, and with beautiful people in the panel with amazing backgrounds at ASML and KPMG and all with the same bicultural, with the same backgrounds, different background than typical Dutch.
Yes.
And so it was very relatable for the audience, and the questions and the trust right away. What happened there? That's magic.
Yeah, and I think, now that I'm in the head of recruitment position, and before I was also working with recruitment team, when it comes to finding a job, because that's also an important aspect of when you move to a new country, or you want to make sure that you can land in your dream job or something that you want to get as your future job. So I think it's from the other side of the table. We want always good talent, right? So we want people that they are capable of doing the job done, and then they getting the job done, and they have good fit with the company culture. So I think it is also an important part to learn more about what companies like, or they for example, they are looking for. These kinds of events that, for example, Navid is organizing, it's really great to just get more knowledge, because I think unfortunately there are some wrong educations about how you should, for example, work on your CV, and it might make it a little bit less authentic, or at the end you might not be able to show exactly what you have. So it's good also look into those kinds of employers that actually they really want to see what you have and what's your potential, and then you can also represent that in a way that you communicate with them or reaching out to them.
Yeah, and where do you start to figure that all out?
Yeah, as an individual, it's not easy. That's why something like what Navid is doing is really a great initiative.
Yes,
because you need help for that.
Yes,
at the beginning. Yeah, some universities also doing good programs. Yeah.
Wow, and I think we can talk for hours and hours. We always do that. But what I really admire about you and is that knowing you better and better, and the distance you've traveled to, not only in a literally way, but also the distance you've traveled, the growth, the personal growth you've been through, it's amazing. And what I would love to round up with is, if there is one thing you would, give as a piece of advice for the, let's say, 10-year younger you, what would that be?
I don't know about advice, because maybe 10 years younger than me, doesn't need necessarily advice.
The rebel.
The rebel. But I would say you're fine. You're gonna figure it out. You're okay. The way you are, you're okay. You're fine.
Boom. Beautiful. Beautiful. Nothing to add. Samar, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And looking forward to keep maintaining our friendship, building up, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for creating this space. Physically beautiful, but also mentally and emotionally creating the safest space. Because, I am a big fan, and one of the most important reasons is that we need to get more of these authentic stories out there, because I'm sure there are people that are going to connect, not necessarily to my stories. You have really amazing guests. So thank you for doing that.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Oh, and before we go, I want to introduce someone with a vision that might just change the way you see travel. Meet Virginia, the founder of Genie, where travel isn't just about places, but about people, purpose and impact. She's on a mission to empower those often overlooked, turning journeys into opportunities for change. Right now, she's in the midst of a 6-week crowdfunding journey to bring this vision to life. Virginia, tell us, why does this matter? And how can we be part of it?
I'm Virginia Schelen, founder of Genie, an impact travel company on a mission to create greater equality through travel and storytelling. At Genie, we design package trips, retreats and workshops that connect people across cultures, while empowering the overlooked. Think of people of color, queer folks, those with accessibility needs and many more. All while we ensure our destinations thrive and make local communities part of the impact. So let's be real. Tourism has its downsides: environmental harm, mass tourism and exploitation of resources, animals and people. That's why we do things differently. Every Genie experience leaves an impact, whether through action or direct financial support. So, to make our mission, greater equality through travel and storytelling, a reality, we started a crowdfunding round. You get the chance to help us shine and drive real impact. Here's how. You can make a contribution. Big and small amounts mean the world to us. So if you're planning a trip, check out our trip rewards. Second, please share this story with 3 people who might appreciate this. Third, if you have any connections to well-known impact-driven leaders or advocates, please connect us. Together we can make travel a force for change. Join the Genie movement today.